Hello, and welcome to this American History podcast. In the last podcast, you learned how the slavery issue led to the formation of the Republican Party. In this podcast, we're going to be learning how the election of 1860 led to the secession of the Southern states from the Union. All right, so here we go. The Republicans nominated Abraham Lincoln for president in 1860. The Democratic Party split over the issue of slavery. They disagreed about what to say about slavery in the party's platform, or statement of beliefs. The Southern Democrats wanted the party to defend slavery in the platform. The Northern Democrats wanted the platform to support popular sovereignty. They believed that would be the best way to decide the issue of slavery in new territories and states. The Northern Democrats nominated Stephen Douglas for president. He was a supporter of popular sovereignty. The Southern Democrats refused to support Douglas. They nominated John Breckinridge from Kentucky, a supporter of slavery. A fourth party, called the Constitutional Union Party, nominated John Bell of Tennessee. This party had one aim: to preserve the Union. So here's a look at the candidates. Republican, Constitutional Union, Democrat, Democrat. So there's a split in the Democratic Party. And we talked about the word platform. Again, platform is a statement of beliefs. So you can see the platform in the Republican Party, and you can see the split in the platform of the Democratic parties. And then you have the platform of the Constitutional Union Party. Okay, again, these are their platforms, a statement of beliefs, something that they're going to be pushing for if you elect them. The election turned into two different races for president. Lincoln and Douglas had support in the North. Breckinridge and Bell had support in the South. Lincoln and Breckinridge were both believed to have the most extreme views on slavery. Lincoln was against expanding slavery in the territories. Breckinridge wanted the federal government to protect slavery in any territory. Douglas and Bell were considered to be moderates. They did not want the government to pass any new laws on slavery. The election made it clear that the nation was tired of compromise. Lincoln carried the North. Breckinridge won the South. The North had the most people, so Lincoln won the election. Lincoln stated that he would do nothing about slavery in the South. White Southerners did not trust him. They viewed his victory as a threat to slavery and their way of life. So take a look at this map, and you can see Abraham Lincoln in the blue carried most of the North and California and Oregon. And you can see his popular vote and his electoral vote. Breckinridge carried a large amount of the South. And you can see that his popular vote is significantly lower than Lincoln's, as are his electoral votes. So Lincoln wins the election, 16th president of the United States. Now, many Southerners warned that if Lincoln was elected, the Southern states would secede. And you remember that secede means to withdraw from the Union. They believed that the states had voluntarily joined the Union, and as a result, they believed that the states had the right to leave the Union. In 1860, that's December of 1860, South Carolina became the first state to secede. And by February 1861, 6 more states succeeded. They formed what became known as the Confederate States of America. And sometimes they're known as the CSA. And you can see by this map how the country was divided. You have some border states. We'll be talking about that in an upcoming podcast. But you can see that the country is divided into the USA and the CSA. In addition, the Confederate States of America named Jefferson Davis as their president. So they've created the idea for a new country. They've elected a new president. Next, they're going to create a constitution, which is going to be very similar to the Constitution of the United States. But it's going to have two significant differences. One is that it's going to have written into its constitution, the Confederate Constitution, a support of slavery in the Confederacy and a support of the idea of states' rights. Now, Northerners believed that secession of the Southern states was unconstitutional. President James Buchanan argued against secession. Now, you might be saying, wait a minute, President James Buchanan? I thought it was President Lincoln. Well, Lincoln got elected in November of 1860, but he's not going to become president until January of 1861. So there is a layover, and at this particular point, James Buchanan is still president. So he argued against secession. He believed that states did not have the right to leave the Union. He said that the federal government, not the state governments, was sovereign. Sovereign means in charge or having all of the power. So he had to reiterate to the states, listen, you're not the ones that are truly in charge. It's the federal government that's in charge. Secession, again, brought up the issue of majority rule. Southerners claimed that Northerners wanted to use their majority to abolish slavery, and Northerners claimed that Southerners didn't want to accept the election results. So you're probably thinking, hey, no problem. They'll just come up with another compromise. Shoot, Henry Clay, he's come up with a bunch of compromises in the past. He'll probably just come up with another one. The problem is, this is the 1860s, and Henry Clay died in the 1850s. So Henry Clay is not going to be around to solve this problem. That doesn't mean that other people aren't going to try. Some people tried to come up with a compromise to stop the South from seceding. In February of 1861, Senator John Crittenden of Kentucky created a compromise plan, which you can see on this map below. His plan, called the Crittenden Plan, was designed to draw a line at the 3630 line and to establish which states would be open to slavery and which ones would be closed. The idea that we can still make one more compromise and keep the Union together, but it didn't pass. In his inaugural address, President Lincoln assured the South that he would not abolish slavery there, but he also spoke strongly against secession. Lincoln didn't want to press the South. He did not want to force the South to stay in the Union. Several forts in the South were still under Union control. These included Fort Sumter in South Carolina. These forts needed to be resupplied. The whole nation waited to see what would happen to the fort. With the secession of South Carolina and 6 other states, it appeared that a fuse had been lit. The question was, would anybody be able to put out the fuse before the bomb exploded? Well, I hate to leave you on a cliffhanger, but that is the end of this podcast. Lincoln's election and Southern secession. And you learned how this election in 1860 led some Southern states to secede from the Union. Hope this has helped. Have a great day.